Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's time now for the week that was. Let's take a look at the top stories that made headlines around the globe this week. Starting with this story. With relief at Aso Rock, President Bola Tinubu said the decision of the Supreme Court has settled the discourse over the polls. State House correspondent Adesowa Omoran reports on the reactions from the seat of power as political associates and well-wishers thronged the Aso Rock Villa.
With rapt attention, President Bola Tinubu watches the Supreme Court proceedings. And with the verdict in, there's an atmosphere of excitement. The president extends his appreciation to his appointees and aides for their congratulations on his significant legal triumph. More political associates and party leaders arrived to celebrate. In his first remarks after the judgment, the president says he's been vindicated and reaffirms his commitment to serving the country effectively while urging citizens to contribute to the nation's progress, promising to exceed their expectations in governance.
I've started from day one to work hard, regardless of, the court cases, okay? And just strengthen my resolve to do more. A challenge of this nature and a future of this nature is more work and more hard work, more dedication. It just appeal to the sense of patriotism of Nigeria to have a change of mindset. Let us be positive about our country, be ready to contribute in all ways possible.
The president states that the Supreme Court's decision has stopped mischief and ensured justice for all Nigerians.
The judgment of the Supreme Court put a stop to shenanigans, put a stop to innuendos, put a stop to lies or trial in the media and public place. The court has demonstrated indivisible commitment to rule of law and humanity, and their commitment to do justice for all Nigerians.
Reactions to the victory are unanimous. Party members believe it will enable the president to concentrate on his responsibilities.
It is clear, crystal clear, to all Nigerians that our president won this election free, fair. And I congratulate INEC as well for a job well done. It couldn't have been better than this at this time. Even though there are areas of improvement,
we must have, a clear direction on how to, get all hands on deck, get the economy agenda of this country on track. Let us put whatever differences, political or otherwise, and let us rally around this administration.
Now, our president can now be focused on the task of governance. All the distractions are behind him. He has a lot of work to do.
Furthermore, they urge the opposition and those who remain dissatisfied to collaborate with the president for the betterment of all Nigerians.
There is always one victor at a time. This is Asuaju's time. They should all take heart, come and join hands with him so that we move Nigeria to a greater level.
It is a larger victory for all of us. Today, it's a blessing for Nigeria that our sitting president carries the day.
President Tinubu and his party, the APC, are confident that with the Supreme Court's verdict and widespread support, the president is now fully poised to steer the nation towards a prosperous and united future. Adesowa Omoran, Arise News.
On your mind, we shall stand.
To President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This matter, of course, is now res judicata. I picked that up from Dr. Abati while I was watching the morning show yesterday, meaning that, the Supreme Court has, of course, conferred legitimacy to the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Litigation is over, and it is now time for everyone to set sentiments aside and focus on the nation as the overriding factor in the national interest of the people. There are very serious issues, and of course, no political party has all the answers. PDP, Labour, and all other opposition parties now have to play their role. The success of one political party should not necessarily be seen as a defeat for others, but as an opportunity to work together for the greater good of the country. Now, as for the Nigerian citizens, there has been mixed reactions on social media, in person, regarding the ruling. But the highest court of the land has indeed affirmed this presidency. So regardless of what your personal opinions are, it is important to note that we expect politicians to respect the rule of law. And instead of worrying about this judgment, as citizens, we should also respect the rule of law, because if none of us do, then it's going to just fall into chaos and anarchy. And going forward, I think the next focus should be on strengthening the judiciary, strengthening the legislature, and more importantly, INEC. We shouldn't wait until when we're about to do the next set of presidential elections for INEC to start to look at those reforms that they need to put in place to make sure that we don't have this kind of issue, be it with beavers, be it with, making sure that there are more hands on ground in the polling units. It's important that the work starts now. And then to focus on the future. This new administration, of course, under the visionary leadership of the affirmed President Tinubu, has already embarked on critical free market reforms. Some of these reforms, including the removal of petrol subsidy, currency unification, and it's poised, of course, to lay the foundation for private investment and a vibrant industrial sector. Diversifying away from extractive industries, of course, like from oil, is very crucial. So let's this government begin to look at those things that is going to bring, 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. We're looking at student loans that's already been put forward. We're looking at a starting date of January 2024. There's already been a push for 15 million homes to be registered and to make sure they receive palliatives. Okay, after that, what next? What exactly is being done? And a lot of pending cases, of course, going forward. Now is the time to focus on the future. Just like it's been mentioned in that report by Adesuwa Amoron, our State House correspondent, that all distractions set aside, there is no excuse for this administration not to focus on making sure that the Nigerian citizens are the ones whose interest is put first. Over to you, Mr. Steve.
All right, Sheito. I mean, at a time momentarily, I thought I was listening to Ajuri Ngalili or even Mr. Bayo Nanuga, giving the effusive way that you have said congratulatory words, to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and of course setting the agenda for him. But you're right. Congratulations in order to our president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the master strategist himself. I mean, what can one say, other than to say that, yes, the work began on May 29th, but of course this is the time to now renew his energy, and
bring that renewed hope.
Renewed energy this time around. We're done with hoping. We're still hoping, but let's have renewed energy. But I think that it would be naive of anyone to think that all distractions are now gone because the Supreme Court has affirmed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No, they won't. And for reasons that democracy will be strengthened, there will continue to be a situation where the opposition parties, especially PDP and the Labour Party in particular, will continue to distract, in quote, the president. I don't think that you will see a deluge of people from PDP or Labour Party and say that, Supreme Court has affirmed you, and therefore, all hail the new leader. No, they will continue to hammer on many issues that they think are not tidy. Either in the manner that they think that the president emerged, or issues affecting some aspect of his personal life and credentials, or the way that they will perceive that he's running government. Those things will be there. They have always been there. Each time a president wins, there will be a bit of relaxation of all the vitriol, but you will see that opposition will try to hold him accountable. The same manner that we expect that the media will continue to hold him, accountable without seeking to destroy our country, without seeking to bring the roof down, without seeking to disparage certain institutions like the judiciary, for example, like the Supreme Court, etc. So the president should expect that, yes, he will have more time to sort of concentrate, but the distractions from the opposition, particularly through the social media, will not necessarily stop. And I think that the battle for 2027 will have started right, from now, immediately after Supreme Court, gave the judgment. So like I said, congratulations are in order. But I like a good chunk of what the president said. For instance, he said to many of his aides, your jobs are secured. Yes. Nobody will boot you out. It is your performance, especially to the ministers, that will retain you on the job. But I also saw a tinge of gloating, in what the president said when he said that what the court has put out has now put a stop to shenanigans. Those were his words, to innuendos and media trial. Yes. I thought that may not have been necessary, but again, this is Asiwaju who likes to, give a side jab, to the opposition, even when he's saying that my doors are open, come on board, let's run this country together and make Nigeria great. The key word will be that Nigeria can be a lot greater. If we accept that it is the distractions of the last 5 months that has not
allowed
steadied the ship, let's hope that the ship will now be steady, because there are major, massive issues on the ground that the president will need to attend to. Yes. Except, with the exception of one or two, in few weeks or a couple of months, we have not seen so far star ministers, in the cabinet. We're hoping that after the budget will have been passed, and then maybe by the end of the first quarter of next year, we will have at least identified a couple of them. Lubimi Ojo is not doing too badly, and it shows that, body language, being decisive, get cracking, can get the job done. It will be important to have at least, a handful of such ministers, because it's not just about the president. It's also about his cabinet members. It's about how his policies are being projected, how certain key agencies, like the CBN, like the, maybe the NMPCL, etc., can also live up to the billing. So we have a president, he has a mandate for 4 years in the first instance, and I think that he should be allowed to work. He deserves to work, really.
Definitely.
All right. So we'll proceed. The Senate has begun moves to whittle down the powers of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Amendment bills seeking to remove him as chairman of the board of the bank have scaled second reading. The amendment bills also aim to bar all sitting CBN governors and their deputies from joining politics or contesting for political office. Our Rice correspondent, Omo Bazoaye, tells us more.
In what seems like a radical move to weaken the powers of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, the Senate has initiated 2 bills aimed at separating the head of the management of the Central Bank of Nigeria from the chairman of the governing board. The current 2007 Act deposits both positions and powers in the incumbent governor. In the bill sponsored by Senator Sunday Karimi and Darlington Wokocha, the Senate wants such arrangements to give way, hoping to reform the CBN.
These amendments were carefully proposed to deal with the following issues. 1, address the corporate governance and lack deficit of ethical conduct that bedeviled the central bank management over the years by separating the head of management from the head of governing board.
The proposed bills also seek additional portfolios for more deputy governors, increasing the number to 6 from each of the geopolitical zones as opposed to the initial 4 positions. The most profound of the proposed changes is an amendment that completely forbids the sitting governor and his deputies from joining politics and contesting for political offices while in service. A move the lawmakers argue would eliminate conflicts of interest.
I'm proposing that Section 9 be amended further, that will ban the CBN governor and his deputy from participating in politics when they are in service.
Propose this bill. I listened to everyone. I think we are confusing policies for law. The behavior of the immediate past governor of the bank was not as a result of legal loopholes. It was absence of governance. And even the Senate was also unable to find the courage to assert its oversight responsibility.
The amendment also provides for an additional position of a deputy governor to represent the 6 geopolitical zones in the country for robust engagement in the administration and policy of the central bank.
In this country now, you cannot discount the political sensibility of our people. And so, asking for the appointment of persons in the board from geopolitical zones doesn't politicize it. In every political zone now, you can find competent persons and meritable persons that can take positions in the CBN.
The central bank currently has 12 members in its board, 10 of who are members of the board's management team. The Senate wants the composition expanded to include the Auditor General of the Federation, Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, and the Chartered Institute of Bankers for proper synergy of fiscal and monetary policies.
We must make the person weaker, but make the decision stronger. Africa is safer when we have stronger institutions, with weaker personalities. But where we have stronger personalities and weaker institutions, then we will still be in the woods.
The consolidated bills, which scaled second reading, were referred to the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Matters for further legislative work. The committee has 2 weeks to revert to the Senate at plenary. Omo Bazwai, Arise News.
All right. I mean, interesting development from the Senate. I'm not too sure how to, welcome the idea, as if the CBN governor is the president of Nigeria. Amendments are not on their own anything bad. But then, as people say, the solution for headache is not to cut off the head. And I like the intervention that the former governor of Edo State, Adams Oshiomhole, provided to say that, hey, this isn't about the fact that the CBN Act is deficient. You may choose, to say that you do not want a CBN governor or the deputy to partake in politics. And that goes without saying anyway, But he was, I totally agree with his submission when he says that what caused part of what we witnessed, particularly in the last 8 years as it affects CBN, is absolute lack of oversight, including the Senate itself. The indictment also went to the Senate. I like Oshiomhole's courage, there. So if you're blaming the CBN or the former CBN's governor, what enabled the infractions that you are now trying to correct with amendments to the act? So, well, maybe it will, because it looks like everybody, wants it, and it has passed second reading. It looks like, they will fly. But then that will just be a piece of legislation. Like Oshiomhole said, the amendment itself can just lie there if there's no oversight. If you have a president who probably does not care, or he just allows the CBN governor to overshadow him. We saw clearly, that there were many areas in which the CBN, under Emefiele, left its core duties and, was engaging in shenanigans, quite frankly. But again, who called him to order? Until the governors of the APC went to court up to Supreme Court to say that this Naira redesign, etc., cannot fly, and the Supreme Court had to make a pronouncement on it. Every other thing was in the media. Many institutions were silent, particularly the National Assembly. So I like that Oshiomhole is saying that, hey, you can go ahead with what you're proposing, but it doesn't really solve the problem if oversight will be lacking.
Definitely, and I agree with you when we talk about oversight and consequences of actions, because what we're seeing is this we're reeling off of the consequences of a lot of actions that the former CBN governor had put in place, and Nigerians are suffering the consequences of these decisions till date. And when we look at these two crucial bills to amend the CBN Act and enhances transparency and accountability, the importance of this, of course, is to detach the CBN governor and the deputy governor from partisan politics, eliminating their roles as board chairmen and expanding the board to include key members like the Auditor General of the Federation and the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. We're also looking at the proposed amendments, seeking to bar these individuals from political engagements. And I think it's very important. You talk about, oversight, but it's important to address it because there wasn't necessarily any rule or any law or anything that had been set aside, stopping this, will I say, spillover from focusing on the CBN and then spilling over into politics. It came as a shock when a lot of people found out that the former CBN governor, of course, had shown interest in politics when we had not even fully figured out what exactly was going on with the current Nigerian economy, and for to also be able to make sure that the next governor doesn't delegate, responsibilities to other staff, to his other staff as well. Additionally, it's important to point out that the bill also suggests that the Salaries and Wages Commission determine the CBN staff remuneration, although this in itself faced some opposition in the Senate. During the debate, senators, inclusive of even Adam Oshiomhole himself, emphasized the need for these amendments and pointed out instances where the CBN had extended substantial loans to the government without the National Assembly's approval. Concerns were also raised about the depreciating value of the Naira and the necessity to address this issue, possibly even limiting the use of a dollar trade within the country. So there's so many aspects to this, and of course, like you rightly said here, Steve, it's past the first reading, and it's past the second reading, and it looks as if it's something that is going to fly. But what's most important, like you've said, is oversight, is holding people accountable to their actions and making sure that there are consequences, positive or negative, when we have officials stepping outside the framework of their responsibility. But let's move on now very quickly to our next story. The Senate has told civil societies and other citizens criticizing its decision to purchase brand new vehicles valued at 160 million naira for each senator to spare it of the hues and cry. Now, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Special Services, Karimi Sunday, said the decision to purchase the vehicles for all senators is not unusual and done in secrecy, stressing that it was thoroughly evaluated and based on a feasibility study carried out by the Procurement of Department of the National Assembly. He said it is unfair for people to continue to lash their elected representatives over the vehicles bought for them and keep quiet about ministers who enjoy luxury of even more vehicles to perform their duties.
I'm sure you know we have a Department of Procurement in the National Assembly. They did a comparative analysis of cost, of durability, and they came up with suggestions. And we took their suggestions. So that a senator has, that they approve a Land Cruiser for us. And somebody that is a minister, you have more than 6, maybe 3 Land Cruiser, Prado, and other vehicles in their convoy. and you are not asking them questions. Please spare us a bit. And this vehicle that you take, go to Nigerian roads today. If I go home once to my senatorial district, I come back spending a lot on my vehicle because our roads are bad. And the issue of buying vehicles for National Assembly, you know, it's a reoccurring decimal. Every assembly, it will always come up. We should at least let the public, let them have a little trust and confidence in us. If you go to state houses of assembly today, check out. Most of them, before they were even inaugurated, the governors will have bought vehicles waiting for them. Even local government chairmen, I know the vehicle my local government chairman is using. So why National Assembly alone?
I can't believe that we're still having such conversations, even in the midst of all the problems that are currently being faced by the Nigerian people. And, you know, he said something. He said, these vehicles that you see, if you go on Nigerian roads today, if I go home once to my senatorial district and I come back spending a lot on my vehicles because the roads are bad. And I'm just, for the life of me, I don't understand. Shouldn't we be focusing on fixing these roads? Shouldn't we be focusing on making sure that the Nigerians that can barely afford $1 a day get their palliatives, get their monies? You know, there's so many loopholes in the budget that need to be faced head on. And what we're talking about now is people spending 160 million naira on cars, people that already own cars, 57.6 billion naira on vehicles, and the argument is that the road is bad. The argument is that, other ministers have Land Cruiser and Prado and other vehicles. Honestly, I can't for the life of me understand why we continue to have the cost of governance so high. These are the things that should be trimmed down. Why do you need a new car? If the road is bad, then take public transportation like other public officials do in the United States and in the United Kingdom and in other first world and second world countries. Over to you, please.
Shaito, I mean, there's no point wasting time on statements like the very irresponsible statement from somebody, this fellow, Senator Karimi Sunday. It is tactless, it is shameless, it is irresponsible, and it's a disservice to the very reason why he was elected as a representative, of the people. It is shameless not because of what he said, but because he was just unable to even put together sentences to back up what would have been an otherwise sensible position. I understand what he's trying to say. To say that why are you singling out the Senate or the National Assembly when the issues that you are trying to address in terms of the cost of procuring official vehicles for public officers, cuts across board. And it's a drain. I understand that. It's a drain on the pulse of everybody. From local government, to state, to the executive, to the judiciary. We will have to be intentional on whether we want to address that drain. That drain is not limited to the National Assembly. That's the point that he's struggling with. But in using all the examples, the silly examples that he used about bad roads and etc., it just plainly showed that this gentleman does not even deserve to be a senator, let alone be speaking on behalf of Nigerian senators. It's shameful.